Have you ever found yourself in a group just nodding along to something you don't actually believe? Just to keep the peace? Or maybe you felt that sudden flash of anger at someone just because they support a different team or a different political party. Well, that's not some kind of personal failure. Nope, it's actually a core feature of your brain's ancient operating system. Today, we're diving deep into the tribal mind. We're going to pull back the curtain on that hidden switch in your brain that prioritizes belonging over being right. And more importantly, we'll show you how to take back control and think for yourself.
Just let that sink in for a second. Deep inside your head, there's a piece of wiring that is built for allegiance, not for accuracy. It's a switch that can make your most important values, like logic and reason and even ethics, just sort of dissolve the second you feel like you're part of a group. And look, it's not a conscious choice. It's an automatic, incredibly powerful process designed to protect you from the one thing our ancestors were terrified of, being left all alone.
It's a pretty frustrating paradox, isn't it? Here you are, this rational, intelligent person, and yet your brain can get hijacked by this primal instinct. So why is it that the logical part of you, the part that can do calculus or plan a vacation, so often loses the fight against the pull of the tribe? Well, to answer that, we have to understand the huge price your brain thinks you'll pay for standing alone.
Okay, so what does this internal battle actually feel like in the real world? Let's break down the warning signs, the symptoms that pop up when your tribal brain starts calling the shots. Think of these as the emotional red flags that your brain's priority has shifted from what is true to what keeps me safe inside the group.
Do any of these sound familiar? First up, cognitive rigidity. That's when you won't even consider an opposing view. It doesn't just feel wrong, it feels dangerous. Then there's self-censorship. You know this one. It's when you bite your tongue, holding back a question because you're worried about rocking the boat. Then we have intolerance for nuance. This is that powerful need to see the world in black and white, us versus them. No messy gray areas, because simple feels so much safer. And finally, hostility towards outsiders. That's that knee-jerk defensiveness you feel for another group. See, these aren't just bad habits. They're signs that your ancient survival wiring is taking over your modern, logical mind.
So here, we can actually see the battle happening inside your skull. On one side, you've got your prefrontal cortex, the PFC. This is the new, sophisticated part of your brain. It's responsible for slow, logical, critical thought. It's the adult in the room. But on the other side, you've got the limbic system. This is the ancient, powerful core that runs on pure survival instinct. Its job isn't to be right. Its job is to keep you alive. And for thousands of years, being alive has meant one thing: stay with the tribe. So when there's a conflict, the limbic system's fear of being kicked out almost always screams louder than the PFC's quiet voice of reason.
And this slide right here, this explains why that limbic system has so much damn power. The threat of being excluded isn't just some abstract idea. Your brain literally processes social rejection, being laughed at or kicked out of a group, in the exact same place it processes physical pain. That's the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, or dACC. So to your brain, being rejected feels just as real and just as threatening as breaking your arm. Standing out from the group literally hurts, and that is the ultimate reason we fall in line.
Okay, so we get why we conform, to avoid that deep, very real pain of being excluded. But how does it actually work? Well, it's not random. Your brain runs a very predictable four-step program. It's like a hidden operating system that quietly transforms you from an individual me into a tribal us. Let's map it out. We call this the Conformity and Defense Loop. It all starts with step 1, social categorization. The instant you're in a new situation, your brain starts sorting people into us and them. This is the moment the switch flips from your personal identity to your social one. That leads right into step 2, schema adoption, which is really just a fancy way of saying you start to download the group's software, their beliefs, their attitudes, their behaviors. Then comes step 3, uncertainty reduction. The world is a complicated place, right? But the group gives you simple, pre-approved answers, which feels great and reduces mental effort. And it all leads to step 4, out-group derogation. To make the us feel stronger and more cohesive, the brain automatically creates suspicion and hostility towards them. It's a defense mechanism that keeps everyone in line. Now, your brain doesn't just run this loop for fun. The psychological rewards, the payoffs, are huge. First, there's self-enhancement. When you identify with a group you think is superior, smarter or more moral or just plain better, your own self-esteem gets a massive boost. You're not just you anymore, you're part of something great. And the second payoff is maybe even more powerful: uncertainty reduction.
Thinking for yourself is hard work. It takes a lot of energy. A tribe, though, offers you a ready-made worldview, a set of mental shortcuts. And our brains, which are always trying to save energy, find that incredibly appealing.
And here's the final piece of the puzzle. This entire loop is basically supercharged by your brain's own reward system. Every time you agree with your group, every time you see your side win, your brain gives you a little hit of dopamine, the pleasure chemical. And that creates this powerful feedback loop. Conforming feels good, agreeing feels good, belonging feels really good. Over time, this makes your group identity feel not just safe, but chemically addictive.
All right, I know this might all sound a bit bleak, like we're just puppets dancing on our own biological strings, but we're not. The key is, once you understand the wiring, you can start to work with it. We can consciously use strategies to hit the pause button on that conformity loop and fire up our independent critical thinking again. It's not about getting rid of our need to belong. It's about managing it with intention.
So here are 3 practical, grounded strategies you can start using today. The goal for each of these is to intentionally wake up your prefrontal cortex and throw a little bit of sand in the gears of that smooth, automatic tribal machine. They are Activate Decoupling, Establish Superordinate Goals, and Implement Perspective Taking. First up is decoupling. This is all about creating a little bit of mental space between what the group thinks and what you think. So the next time you feel that pull of groupthink, maybe at a family dinner or in a work meeting where a bad idea is getting traction, you just pause. And you ask yourself this simple question, silently. Okay, that's the group's opinion. What is my independent opinion? Just asking that question is an incredibly powerful interruption. It stops you from automatically absorbing the group's view, and it tells your prefrontal cortex, hey, wake up, get back to work.
The second tool is all about establishing superordinate goals. Now, this is a brilliant way to hack that us versus them wiring. Instead of trying to get rid of the us category, you just make it bigger. You find a shared goal or a common enemy that's bigger than whatever is causing the conflict. Think about 2 departments in a company who are always fighting over resources. If you reframe them as one team trying to beat an outside competitor, suddenly their brains are forced to recategorize the old them as part of the new, bigger us. It just neutralizes the hostility. Okay, our final strategy is perspective taking, and this one is a real mental workout. It means you actively and genuinely try to understand an opposing viewpoint from their perspective. And let me be really clear, this is not about agreeing with them. It's about the mental exercise of seeing the world through their eyes using their logic. It's a high-effort task. It forces your prefrontal cortex into overdrive, and when you do that, you temporarily shut down those primitive limbic defense alarms. You simply cannot be in a state of complex, empathetic thought and a state of primal tribal defense at the very same time.
So, after looking at all the neuroscience and the psychology, what's the one crucial thing to take away from all of this? Well, it all comes down to a really powerful and maybe even a slightly uncomfortable truth about your own beliefs.
Let that one sink in for a minute. The strength of your conviction is often a measure of the social penalty for leaving the group, not a measure of how true it is. That intense certainty you feel, it might not be coming from a solid foundation of evidence. It could just be a direct reflection of how much it would cost you in friends, in community, in your own identity to abandon that belief. Conviction in this case becomes a defense mechanism for belonging.
And that brings us to one final thought. We tend to think of independence as being some kind of rebel, right? But what if real integrity, real intellectual freedom, isn't about rejecting the tribe? What if it's about consciously managing your own deep, powerful, and very human need to belong? It's about knowing your own wiring so well that you can choose when to connect and when to bravely and thoughtfully stand apart